let's go find some viz and hopefully some decent fish. How did we go?
Yeah, very well.
This thing. This is ridiculous. All right, guys and girls. So I've probably got COVID or something. I'm definitely not feeling 100%, all like nasally, and yeah, it's a bit average, but the conditions are looking good, and I haven't been out in weeks and weeks and weeks, and like, yeah, obviously I had the accident. My neck's like semi-recovered, but I'm just hanging to get out, so let's do this. Keen to get out on the ski, bought an awesome toy, it's time to use it. We've got Mon with the trip.
Hello.
Yeah, so I have no expectations of what we're going to get today. Could be anything, could be kingies, could just be like a couple of reefies, could be no viz, could be viz, who knows. We're just going to roll the dice. All right, guys, so we have successfully launched. Didn't film the launch because it's our first time there, and yeah, it could have gone to shit if we were filming, but luckily, yeah, no car, no trailer, no jet ski injured, no person injured. And check the viz. Had a wonderful trailer drive off by Mon as well, so shout out to Diver Mon for killing it. Didn't fall in a hole. Let's go find some viz and hopefully some decent fish. So far we're out looking for fish on the finder, not really finding anything. The viz is pretty green, which isn't great, but you know what, like, I'm feeling rough as. It's nice to just be out on the water even though I'm feeling rough, and yeah, finally get close to the ocean. I feel like by the end of next week work will have wrapped up, and it'll be time to properly enjoy Wet Mammal, and you guys are gonna love it, I'm gonna love it, Mon's gonna love it. I've found out that unfortunately having the gun mounted at the side of the S-ski means it's copping a lot of water. Not great, it will eventually rip off. Do manage to discover this hat floating in the ocean, so as always we try and remove everything from the ocean that doesn't belong and have some fun with it. And at this point we're just trying to spot some viz and honestly find somewhere to anchor. You can see again the gun rack just copping waves, so we had to go pretty cruisy on this one. We've pulled up into this lovely little bay, and we're gonna have a dive, aren't we?
Yep, gonna get in the water. It looks pretty nice. It's a bit green, but you can actually see the bottom, which is nice compared to last time we went. So yeah, excited.
I definitely don't think kingies are going to be on the card today, but who cares? Still feeling really, really bunged up in the face. Probably not going to be able to equalise. So let's try and do some surface shots on some fish or something, but excited to get wet. So it's finally time to get into the water. Still pretty bunged up, but look, I'm excited to get in. It's going to be good. As soon as I get this gun in my hand, I start feeling the froth. Quick wave from Mon, and she hops in. It's nice diving from the ski. I do check the anchor of the ski to make sure that it's going to stay. Load up the gun, and away we go. That's the new Wet Mammal gun. It looks incredible and shoots deadly accurate. I've only dove this spot once before, and it wasn't too productive, but look, I'm feeling a bit keener on this particular day. There's a bit of fish action, not really the right kind of fish that you want to see, but it just looks like the perfect snoop spot for a snapper. You've got broken sandy ground out the front, then you've got this lovely ledge with good weed ground, and it's obviously a rocky reef, so yeah, it just looks like it could hold snapper here. Haven't seen any. There's plenty of urchin around, so it's worth a look. Trying to stay down and low as long as possible. You can see that there's a bit of bait action happening, but it's really not like the signs that you want to see when you're snooping out fish like snapper. But it is cool. Like, the visibility, as you can see, isn't fantastic, but there's great hiding spots. Like, honestly, like, in terms of actual physical ground, this spot's actually really cool. Plenty of ledges, drop-offs, cracks, and hiding locations. So great for those that like to dive down and just wait for the fish to come in, or attract the fish to come into them.
Here we can see Mon rising up from the depths. We do some drops that are like 10 seconds apart so that we can keep an eye on each other, because from the surface you can't see anything, so when you're down low you've got a bit more visibility and it's just safer diving in pairs. With Andy on the surface, still keeping an eye out for boats, jet skis, you name it. A great way to dive as a trio. Right on the surface the visibility is terrible, but then as you get down lower it actually clears up a fair amount, so not too bad.
It's really clean down there. Dude, so's mine.
We do a couple more drops down here and we're only dropping down to like 12-14 meters. It's not particularly deep. You can see the brim out there in the distance. They're hanging back, but there are some large models. There would be some brim that would have been like 45, 48, something like that. So real good sized fish, but yeah, not too interested in them, and I'm just holding off hoping that there's going to be like a snapper or something like that cruising through the school, or a nice trevally coming through. That would be absolutely mint. Love a bit of trevally sashimi. I move to another rock and basically it's kind of dead but then starts to fire up, but it's just the wrong kind of fish. Lots of ludwig bouncing around, and yeah, not too into them, but it's nice diving. Again, we can see more of the ludwig bouncing around, more of the brim bouncing around, and not much else. So I decided to go for a firm old favourite, head back into the shallower waters and basically just smash a black drummer. So first thing you want to do if you're hunting for black drummer, just check ledges where there's lots of wash. They love oxygenated water. So anywhere it's particularly rough or there's just a lot of movement with some caves, you'll find them. They're easy, and they put up a good fight. Just be really careful. You want to kind of get the right angle on them, because if you just shoot blind into a cave you can quite easily lose your spear, bend your spear, or just get your line all wrapped up and lose the fish. So you want to try and like take a nice clean shot and then pull the fish out as quickly as you possibly can, which is what I'm trying to do here. He still manages to go into a bit of a tight spot, but I try and work him out through a little passage. He doesn't particularly want to come in, doesn't want to play ball, so I end up just putting side force on to try and get him out of the other side of the cave, and he comes out, which is awesome. So got to make sure that he doesn't go back under the cave, so just keep tension on that line, even though it's like tearing through his gut. Not a great shot. Yeah, you really don't want them to go back in there, because if they can just tear off and that's it, you've got dead fish and you don't actually have a dinner, so sad times. But luckily he managed to secure this one, which is good. So remove the spear, bleed him like we always do.
There's quite a few in that hole.
And I think this is going to be as good as it gets out here, guys. It's honestly not that great. So we head back in, and on the way back in, stumble across this little ledge with these awesome Port Jackson sharks. They are just beautiful. Absolutely love these guys. Friendliest shark on the planet, and yeah, just really cool how they just sleep next to each other and chill out of the way of the swell or the current. They're awesome. Once I pop up to the surface, I tell Mon and Andy about the Port Jacksons, and they come down for a little peek. You can see that they really love getting out of the current. Mon's in a bit of current, but these guys are completely unfazed. When we get back to the jet ski, with only a black drummer for a feed, we decide that we're going to get some sea urchin to do some quinoa butter for a pasta, or just quinoa on toast. Something simple. It's nice having access to an esky and not having to swim everywhere with your fish, so fish goes in and that's it. Drop the gun off and time for pure quinoa action. So these aren't particularly big. In Sydney we don't really get massive sea urchins, but you can still get some tasty ones, and like now's kind of the season for it really. So if you're going to get into them, get into them. They're really creamy. They're kind of like a super buttery oyster is the way that I would describe it, but then again I do cook a lot with butter, so
Thank you.
With a couple more in the chest, we decided to call it a day. I have a quick check underneath the ski just to make sure that it's not all clogged up, and sure enough there is some seaweed there, so we'll remove that, have a little sip of this Powerade mix, and then be on our merry way. Time for home. Alright Mon, how did we go?
It went very well. Sam got a black drummer and I didn't get anything. It was okay, because I didn't want to get, I only saw red mowies, I didn't want a red mowie. But it was a nice day to be out in the water. The viz was way better than last time, and it was, yeah, a beautiful sunny day.
It was, and although we didn't get much, a black drummer, we got to trial out this thing. We found the flaws with it, so back to the drawing board. Well, not really back to the drawing board, it's kind of just going to move location from here to in front here, and it's going to be off to one side so we can still make use of the link attachments. But yeah, time to give this puppy a hose down, rinse out, and not bad. So it's been a while since I got my last black drummer, but today we're just going to go something real simple. It's actually one of my favourite things to do with a black drummer, and that is just traditional fish and chips. So we're going to make up a beer batter. We're going to be a bit fancy with the potatoes and do a triple cooked chip. So let's get stuck into it. First we're going to take our lovely little black drummer.
First things first, you're going to wash and cut potatoes. Do them like a centimetre thick, or you can go 1.5 centimeters if you want, and just try and get them all as evenly cut as possible so that they all cook evenly. If you've got thick chips and thin chips, you're going to have different cooking rates. So you're going to wash them in fresh cold water and just basically de-starch them. Whilst that's happening, we're going to quickly fillet up this black drummer. Black drummer is an interesting fish to fillet because they've actually got like a really large, what I would call rib cage. So they've got big bones, so you actually are deprived of quite a lot of flesh up in the front, but that's okay, you can still get nice fillets off these guys. Bit of sawing action, cut around the ribs. Next up, we're going to want to take out those pin bones, so along the lat line we're going to cut that out and then just fillet the fish and remove the flesh. As you can see, there's quite a lot of meat missing from where the rib cage is. That's just black drummer, honestly. The bigger they are, the bigger the rib cage too. But yeah, not a bad filleting job. I don't usually leave my scales on my fish, but in this case I did, and it just dried up like that, so it is what it is. I'll keep the fish skins for the garden. So next up, we were going to want to chuck the potatoes into some boiling water, add some salt, and just like parboil them. Next, we're going to make the wet part to our batter. So we've got 250 ml of water. We're going to go nice stone and wood into the beer batter. I genuinely really like chucking stone and wood and stuff, and not because I just like drinking it, but we'll basically just double that. That smells right. Cool. And then we're gonna make our flour mix. So that's our wet mix, and now we're gonna make our flour mix, which is gonna be chuck in some flour, bicarbonate soda, some salt, some Cajun spice, and then we're gonna add our wet mix. So this is just beer and water. We're going to mix it in slowly and get the consistency right. You don't want to chuck all your water in first and then find out that you have to add heaps more flour and end up making way more batter than you need. This is the go-to recipe. You want to mix it all up, get a nice kind of like wet gloopy consistency. You don't want it too gloopy, and you don't want it like super thin either. Once we've parboiled our chips, gonna put them on a rack and just dry them out. Now we're just gonna do our avocado oil, just get things frying up nicely. These things are absolutely amazing. I'll drop a link in the description, but it even comes with its own little oil thermometer, so you can drop that in and see how hot your oil is. We're gonna get the oil up to 140 first. We're gonna chuck our chips in, just blanch them, take them out. Whilst that's drying, we're gonna put our fish into its batter, and then we're going to put the chips back into the oil, but at a 160 degree heat, and cook them up, crisp them up nicely, and then straight off the back of that, it's going to be our fish. Chippies. Okay, now these chips are nice and dry, we're going to blanch them in some oil, so just a very light fry, and then put them back on the rack and let them dry out some more. Honestly, this results in super crispy but fluffy chips. Next we're going to chuck our fish pieces into the batter. You can see it's a lovely consistency for a batter there. Nice and wet, but also gloopy. And we're going to increase the heat on the oil from the chips, and we're going to basically just chuck our fish straight in. Now we want the fish to go really crispy. I don't like to turn the fish multiple times, I like to just turn it once, so wait until it's nice golden and crispy on one side, and then we'll flip her over. How good does that look? Honestly, absolutely delicious. I can't wait for this. Next, our chips go in, and we're just going to cook our chips off until they're nice, crispy and brown, and these guys are delicious. So these are triple cooked chips because they've been parboiled, blanched, and then fried. Yum. This is proper English fish and chip style. Just need the malt vinegar. And once you've drizzled over a healthy amount of malt vinegar, I promise you this is proper English fish and chips.
Alright, so here we go. We've got our black drummer. I promise you this is outstanding. Been a little bit rushed with it, so I might have skipped steps, but this is ridiculous. And check this crunch. That batter mix is absolutely incredible. It tastes sensational with the black drummer. I definitely recommend doing black drummer like this. They're an overlooked fish by some people. They're really easy to find. They're always going to be in that oxygenated water, wherever it's a bit rough. They taste delicious, and honestly, at that size, like 35 to 50, they taste incredible, so get into them. And of course, we can't go through all that effort with the chips, not to eat them, so... Triple cooked chips, absolute game changer. Super easy to do. They just take a bit of time, so be patient, and it pays off. But I'm gonna smack this. This is incredible. And with that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed. It's been awesome getting out on the jet ski finally. Even though I was all kind of bunged up, still managed to get out and get a fish. Not a bad effort at all. We've got plenty more jet skiing coming up, and you guys made it clear to me in the last video that you want to see a jet ski rundown of the spearfishing setup, so I'm going to make a dedicated video for that, so stay tuned, and until then, stay wet, stay fed, catch ya.